So we're doing the top 13 of the horror genre of the decade, and we're going to start with the top 13. My top 13 is directed by uh, Robert Eggers and is The Lighthouse. So in previous videos we've talked about this movie, and it's pretty much about these two guys who live in a lighthouse and have to take care of it for a certain amount of time. And it's about how you deal with being alone and how you deal with just living with someone else and having like the same day repeat itself. So it's about a lot of isolation, and it's actually a pretty good movie. It's very artsy. So if you're into like very artistic movies and stuff, definitely check that out.
Cool. I like The Lighthouse. It didn't make my list, but it was very interesting for sure. We talked about it on our last video, so we won't go into too much detail, but The Lighthouse, good pick. My number 13, I had a hard time choosing because it meant that one of them, I had two movies that I wanted in 13, so if I picked one, the other one would not be on the list at all. But I went with the horror comedy because I'm a geek for horror comedies. So number 13 for me is The Babysitter. It came out in 2017. It's a Netflix movie that surprised me. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was. It probably had no business being as good as it was, but it's about a little kid who is being babysat by this woman who's in a satanic cult, and some hilarity ensues from there. She invites some friends over, and they do a ritual sacrifice, and it's just hilarious. It's funny.
Mm-hmm.
And so my other pick for 13 was going to be A Quiet Place, so that one dropped off the list.
Yeah, that was number 13 was very hard for me because there's a lot of movies that I wanted it to make the top 13, and then I looked at my list and I was like, yeah,
So if you have
I get it.
Netflix, check it out, The Babysitter.
Mm-hmm. So my number 12 is directed by Matt Bertinelli and Tyler Gillett, and that is Ready or Not. Um, this had a lot of raves and stuff going into the theaters, and also the main actress is she's made a big name for herself. She was actually the main character in his previous movie, The Babysitter. Um, Again, I've said this before, she's actually really good, except for when she screams, because it's a fun time listening to her. The movie's about this girl who is marrying into her husband's family, and they own like a game company, I guess, like a
Board
board
game
game
company.
company, and you essentially have to pick which one you're going to have to play on your wedding night, and she gets Ready or Not.
Hide and
So
seek.
yeah, which is hide and seek, and essentially it's pretty epic, and it's very intense, and there's a lot of like cool aspects of the movie and stuff. So the characters are all very like different and in their own like um their own people, and it's pretty cool. That was my number 12.
Cool, cool. My number 12 is a film directed by Mike Flanagan. It was my number one pick for 2019. That was Doctor Sleep, number 12. A film sequel to The Shining. It features this Danny who's all grown up, who still has The Shining, the ability to communicate via thought with other people who have that ability. But now they're being hunted by this group of, I guess, shining vampires, you could call them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very epic sequel. Like I mentioned before, I think I like this one more than The Shining. The Shining, I think, is a bit overrated. Unpopular opinion, but my opinion nonetheless. But number 12 for me is Doctor Sleep. What do you think of Doctor Sleep?
um Again, like I've talked about in the previous videos that we've made, I love Doctor Sleep a lot more, and more than I like. More you process the movie and stuff. Like sometimes you get out of the movie and you're like, "What did I just watch?" But like the more you think about it, the more the characters develop in your head, and more you kind of start thinking about like, "Oh yeah, that was really cool" and stuff. And like, I really love the cultist people. Like they're my favorite part of the movie. And the girl that was in there, Rose the Hat,
I think so.
she is a friggin' badass and my favorite character. So
Yeah, she's definitely
rooting for the villains right now, but that's okay.
Cool. Number 12, Doctor Sleep.
My number 11 is directed by, I'm not sure if I can say this properly, Fede Alvarez. It is Evil Dead. Hi. And that is Evil Dead. And I went into this movie and I was kind of like, okay, I didn't really have high hopes because it's pretty hard to do a remake of the original ones by Sam Raimi. And yeah, it was gory as shit, but it was super good. And there was a lot of scenes in there, and there was these characters that were just like these badass characters. Like one of them, I can't remember his name. He literally just kept getting jabbed and poked and brutally hurt, and he was just keep going, and he was like, it was pretty cool. I actually enjoyed this movie quite a bit, and that was my number 11, Evil Dead.
Yeah, I really like that film too. Like you said, it doesn't touch the originals at all, but
No.
as far as a remake goes, I thought it was really well done, very entertaining. Yeah, so we're at 11 now.
Yep.
My number 11 is a film also directed by Fred Alvarez, not Evil Dead. It was my favorite theater experience of 2016, probably. It's a film called Don't Breathe. So it's a film about a war veteran who's lost his sight. He lives by himself, as far as you know, in his little house. They get broken into, and it's a fight for survival for the people who actually broke into the house.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, very entertaining, very lots of thrills, and
that ending,
just one that keeps you at like the edge of your seat the entire film.
Yeah, the ending was very, I'm not going to say anything because it will literally ruin it, but the ending was a huge twist for me because it surprised me, because throughout the movie, this character that lives in the house, this war veteran, he seems just like this poor, helpless guy that he doesn't want to go out, doesn't want to do anything, and then these people find out that he's sitting on, like, a pile of money, and they're kind of just like trying to figure out how to break into this man's house, which is awful. But then you find out like a bunch of stuff, and it's such a it's a good movie. It's definitely, if you are in for like sitting on the edge of your seat thrill kind of like surprise movie and stuff, definitely watch.
Just a
Don't
roller
Breathe.
coaster ride. You
It
think they're out
is.
of the woods, and then they're back into the woods, and
And it's the ending too is like a weird plot twist, and then another plot twist at the very, very end. So you think you've seen it all until you literally have not.
yeah, looking forward to the sequel.
Yes, it's gonna be really good.
Don't Breathe.
My number 10, the final 10, is a movie that is directed by, I'm going to check his name, Panos Cosmatos, which I'm really sorry that if I've not said that properly, but it's Mandy. So when I saw this movie the first time, I was super sick, and I thought I was like losing my mind, because this movie is it's such a trip, and it's just like you watch it, and it's like you're not sure that you're actually looking at what you're looking, because it's like, this is ridiculous. But then the more you get into the movie, and then like I want to rewatch this and just kind of understand it more, because I feel like there's just so much to say in this movie, that it's about this guy who, his wife works at a convenience store, and she ends up serving these guys who are part of like a cult. And so anyways,
a lot of cult movies on this list.
Yeah. They come to find her, and then like a lot of stuff just happens, and they kind of like torture her, and then they like, these people go to this guy's house, which is played by Nicolas Cage, and I'm a hit and miss with his movies, because he's made some movies where he's just so intense that it's just over the top, and then like he's intense in this one, but it's a good reaction of the movie, I guess, if that makes sense. Like it's yeah, he does a really good job as being a crazy person. So there's a lot of crazy things that happen, and it's a lot of like wow factor. So
It's very visual.
yes.
A lot of colors, a lot of psychedelicness.
Yeah, a lot of like red and blue and purple and just like never like I don't know.
Just a trip.
Yeah, just really like if you so I suggest if you're watching this movie,
Don't be sick.
Do not be sick, especially with the fever, because you are going to think that you're losing your mind and that yeah, it was not the best experience for sure. But that was my top 10.
Number 10. My number 10 is another Netflix film that came out in 2017, I think, and directed by David Bruckner. It's one that has mixed reviews, but I really like it. It's called The Ritual. It's a group of friends that go hiking. I think they're in Scandinavia. One of them twists their ankle or gets injured, and they have to take a shortcut through the woods to get him to medical help. But in the woods, they find symbols, like a shrine dedicated to some demon, and they become hunted by this supernatural being. So, really cool film. One that I need to rewatch. I've only watched it the once when it came out, but it stuck with me. I really, really enjoyed that one. Again, if you have Netflix, it's available for you to watch. But just got that Blair Witch feel at the start of it, and then it develops into something completely different near the end. Another one that features like a cult. So yeah, very awesome film. You didn't watch that one, did you?
I didn't, but I watched a trailer because the name rang a bell. But then when you go on Letterboxd and you look at different movies that came out that year and stuff, there's a lot of movies that have the same name or short films that are on there that you think that you've seen and stuff. So I looked at the trailer and come to find out I didn't watch it, but it does look super intense and very like into the forest kind of feel. Like you're just like it's like a spooktacular kind of like I don't know. So I definitely rewatch it together this time because I actually genuinely thought we watched it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I looked at the trailer and I was like, no.
Yeah, and I said Blair Witch feeling has in there in the woods. It's not a shot on film like found footage type film at all. It's regular film.
Yeah, not a documentary kind of thing.
Number 10 is The Ritual.
So he has had this movie already on his list already. It's been
It's been mischievous.
Yeah. It is directed by Mike Flanagan, and it is Dr. Sleep. So that is my number 9. Again, I don't want to talk too much about this because we've already previously talked about it. A super great movie. Danny still has his shining, but he has suppressed it because to him it's not normal. And then he meets like this little girl, and then she like kind of like peeks into his life at the same time, and then he finds out that there are more people. He knew there are more people, but he just so it's a pretty good movie, and it's very it feels long, but it's not. It's just a lot of stuff to go through, and a lot of cool characters, and a lot of like backstories, and it's pretty interesting. And the cultist people are
memorable.
They're very memorable. Yep. So that's my number 9.
Well, one is at least.
Yeah. Well, the other one too. Like her boyfriend's pretty cool, but he's just kind of. That's my number 9.
All right, my number 9 is a film that came out in 2010, the start of the decade. One by the horror great James Wan. It's Insidious. So Insidious features a little kid who falls into a coma, and medical attention hasn't done anything for him, so he's sent at home in a coma in his room, and so the mom turns to more supernatural means of finding out what happened to him, and only to discover that there's a demon in the house. So just a classic of James Wan. There's been plenty of sequels. This one's my favorite one. Insidious, my number 9. You like that one? Oh
yeah, the James Wan girl fan right here. I love a lot of his movies. He directed a lot of cool movies.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say, because I guess you'll soon find out.
Yeah, that's right. When Insidious came out, I was a big horror fan growing up. But then I kind of got, I guess you could say, I got into slump because there's just no good films coming out anymore. So
Mm-hmm.
it kind of still a horror fan, but I didn't follow it anymore. And when Insidious came out, it brought me back into the genre a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't make me a hardcore fan. That's another movie that's come up. Another movie did that for me. You'll see it higher up on the list. But I was starting to follow it a little more at this point once I watched this one
Mm-hmm.
because it just gripped me and I really loved it. So Insidious, my number 9.
So my number 8 is directed by John R. Leonetti, and that is Annabelle. And I really like the first one because I find it's just completely different from the other three. The Creation and Annabelle Comes Home. Um, it's just kind of like a, how would you say that? It's just kind of like it gives you kind of a feel of like a documentary feel because it's the way it starts off is about Lorraine and what's his name?
David?
No, Lorraine, her and her husband that are like
Oh, yeah, I don't know their names.
um, paranormal people, and they kind of interview these people and stuff. And this whole movie's about like this doll that's like possessed, and it's given to this family, and like right beside the house, like beside of the family's house, there's like a cultist that lived there, and again, cult related movies. Not really cult related, I guess, but it's just yeah, it's definitely something that I probably could rewatch again. It was definitely one of my favorite ones that came out that year, and it's just very interesting. Like I'm not a big fan of like dolls and stuff, and apparently the original Annabelle doll was Raggedy Ann, which to me doesn't seem that creepy considering it's like a stuffed like
It's not
doll.
porcelain.
Well, yeah, like a stuffed doll with like little red yarn and stuff for hair. It doesn't spook me as much as like the Annabelle doll that they use in the movies. Um, they did a really good job creating it, and the characters and stuff in the movie are just amazing, and it's like oh, it's great. It's such a good movie.
Annabelle, not my. It's probably my least favorite of the Annabelle series.
Really, you like Annabelle Creation, don't
I
you?
like
Yeah,
Creation. I like Creation the best, and even then, it's not like a great film.
yeah.
But Annabelle it's not as bad as people say it is.
Mhm.
It's got some high tension moments for sure, and
Yeah.
a couple of really effective jump scares too. When
Yeah.
the I think there's a little girl or something that runs towards the doorway and then closes and it pops back up and it's a crazy lady with a knife. That part was amazing.
And like when she's downstairs too, and like there's this creepy little like villain dressed in black and all spooky that's like downstairs in the basement while she's like, oh, what? So creepy. You can do a lot of things with darkness and no lights, and just you can make literally a fruit basket look creepy if you put it in the dark.
My goodness.
So,
Yeah. Is this 8?
yep.
All right, number 8 will be kind of my like weird pick. Came out in 2014, directed by Tommy, I think it's pronounced Vircola. Dead Snow 2, Red versus Dead. So it's just hilarious. It's a zombie comedy, some Nazi zombies that are, I guess they're trying to track down and kill the protagonist from the first film,
Yeah.
and trying to raise an army of the dead, and he does the same thing with the Soviet dead people, and
It's
yeah,
so funny. Like you think that like a zombie movie is like kind of getting overrated and stuff, but like if you are still into zombies or even if you're not, you need to look at this movie. I watched this movie with my family and they enjoyed it till the until the very end, but they genuinely my dad literally he's like, "Yeah, it was a good movie." And I was really proud of myself because they don't like watching things that I suggest for them.
yeah,
So, there's a lot of
yeah,
funny parts and
yeah. I definitely watched the first one.
yeah.
The first one came out the decade prior, so I couldn't include it on this list, but it's also very good.
I wouldn't say you need to watch the first one because the second one
It's a different story, yeah, but it just
mentions a lot of what happened in the first movie.
that, and it kind of just picks up right at the ending of the first one. That's why,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, that's
it's a
true.
new like event, but it just picks up from the first one. So if you have the chance to watch the first one and then the second one, it's a perfect double feature.
Yeah.
So check it out. The Dead Snow, my pick, Dead Snow 2, 2014.
So my number 7 is directed by Yoon Sang Ho, and that is Train to Busan. So I heard um, a lot of good stuff about this movie, and it is a Korean 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 movie. So there's a lot of subtitles. It's super intense. Like literally the when it says in the title of the movie Train to Busan, essentially the entire movie almost happens on the train, and it is so like wickedly well done. This little girl and her dad try to make it to see her mom, and they have to take this train. And so anyways, this girl comes onto the train and she is infected. So what happens when you're in a tiny space with a lot of people and there's a person that's sick, they all get sick. And
Imagine if that happened today.
that's not even funny. That's not even funny. So it would spread like wildfire, because in the movie it did spread like wildfire, and it was crazy. And there's just like, it's cool because like each cart had a different type of people. So like one cart was like all these baseball players, and like they all had like their separate thing going on, and like this other like cart was like these business family people that were all just like stuck up. And it was really cool like how the movie was developed, and it's not just like these people that turn into zombies and now they're trying to eat you or trying to kill you. Like there's a lot of development in the movie that was really well done. And the main character and his daughter did like a phenomenal job. Like I would recommend this movie to anyone. It is so well done, and just like you are on the edge of your seat again for a very long time, pretty much during the entire movie. So that was my number 7.
Cool. Yeah, I really like that one too. Train to Busan.
Mm-hmm.
So number 7 for me is another film that came out in 2017. We've got a lot of 2017 films on this list. Directed by Andy Muschietti. This is, I think, is the top film of 2017. It's It, with Pennywise the Clown.
Mm-hmm.
So It, who doesn't know the story of It? It's a supernatural. It's a supernatural being that takes on the form of a clown.
Mm-hmm.
To I guess feed on the people of this little town. It feeds on fear.
Yeah.
So it abducts children and I don't know. It does kill them. They do die, but
Yeah.
feeds on their fear.
Except for I think like a small group of kids that the movie follows throughout.
Follows this little group of kids.
Yeah.
And
The
their
Losers
their
Club.
fight for survival against this supernatural being that named itself Pennywise.
Mm-hmm.
The best of the other, like the original, and I like this chapter 1 more than chapter 2 that came out last year. So this one is my go-to when I want an It film.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Pennywise you've seen everywhere, so it's not
Yeah.
it's kind of a mainstream pick for me, but I really did enjoy it. Even there's a little bit of CGI, hardly noticed it,
Mm-hmm.
which is different from the second one. But yeah,
I do still like the original. The original was very long because it was all put into one movie. The second one,
it was a series. It was a
yeah,
TV
it was like
series.
a mini series. Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, I thought the acting in the new one was better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although Tim Curry is amazing.
He was probably my favorite part in the original It.
Yeah, he was more entertaining. I'd say the new Pennywise is a little scarier.
Yeah.
But I just don't fear clowns, so it might be like if you were afraid of clowns, maybe the happy-go-lucky, creepy Tim Curry would be scarier. But
I wouldn't say happy-go-lucky. He's got like a pretty.
oh, he's pretty.
big, yeah.
He loves life, you can tell.
Mm.
All right, so that's my number 7, It.
So my number 6 is another one by James Wan. Excuse me. This is The Conjuring. I do really like The Conjuring. When it came out, it was very, like, the trailer just looked like super spooky. Like, just, I remember just watching the trailer on TV and like just watching the hands like clap and stuff was just like, oh, this is gonna be so like just interesting and just like new and fresh. And it's about this house that is just has a lot of like
History.
Yeah, kind of really bad history, and it ends up possessing one of the family members, the mom. And so there's just a bunch of things that go through the family, and they go through a lot of dealings with the mom. And so there's just like this one scene where
That happens closer to the end, but
closer to
just
the
a
end.
haunted, like your typical haunted house film is done really, really well.
Yeah, very, and that's like James Wan has been one of my so far I guess newer directors for movies and stuff. Like he's been probably more my mainstream director. Like there's a lot of directors that I do enjoy that are classics. He's more definitely like a fresher kind of style and stuff. There's another guy that I do like to watch his movies, but you'll soon find that out. The Conjuring, and I definitely have to rewatch this movie. I haven't watched it in a while. But if you like a good ghost house kind of creepy possession movie and stuff, definitely check it out.
Cool. Number 6. I wonder if this is the one you're referring to. 2015, I think. Guillermo del Toro, Crimson Peak. So that's another gothic style film. Obviously Guillermo del Toro, he's got his typical style.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about a woman who's to marry this baron who lives in England. She's American, so she moves in with him in his dilapidated mansion.
Literally.
In the middle of nowhere in England.
Mm-hmm.
And come to find out that place is haunted by some people who inhabited the house. And I'm not going to spoil or tell you why they're there, and why they're all red.
Yeah.
The ghosts are red, and there's a reason for that. You'll find out later in the film.
They have really cool...
very underrated film.
Yeah.
One that's not talked about, and I say it's one of his best films, I'd say.
And it's very again, my parents actually also enjoyed this movie. When we first moved into our house a couple of years ago, that's one of the movies we were just like, well, it's not too bad. Like it has like a spooky feel to it, but it's okay to watch with your parents. And my mom was just like, that was such a beautiful movie. It's like the scenery and stuff, and like the housing and everything is so nice. Like it's just, like the scheme and like everything is just so, like it's a very beautiful movie to watch. And it's just a bonus that it's kind of ghostly and everything. Like it's pretty cool. So.
Yeah, it's a love story. It's more of a romance thriller with horror elements.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still a horror film.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
That's my number 6, Crimson Peak.
So my number 5, the top 5, is another one by James Wan, and that is Insidious. The first Insidious. I really enjoy, I love supernatural kind of like, dark kind of possession, kind of like monstery kind of things. Like they're super cool, and like they did such a good job. Like the movie's so spooky, and then there's like into the further kind of thing that you get introduced to in the movie, and it's super. Yeah, it's kind of like a separate world. It's like a parallel world to like
where the dead people go.
Yeah, so it's kind of, I guess, what you would call like an in-between
I don't know.
I
I forget. I haven't seen it in a long time.
Yeah, we definitely have to rewatch a lot of her
We're trying to
movies.
keep up with new stuff, and
Yeah, there's a lot of like the horror genre has grown a lot since
hmm
we started both getting into, because he's always been into it. Me was just more who wants to watch it with me, and I can't do it by myself. So yeah, Insidious, very cool story. The family did a really good job acting, and James Wan again did phenomenal with just like everything. I can't say enough about this guy because he's like just awesome.
Cool. Except for Dead Silence, I didn't get the like for that one.
Yeah, Insidious is probably what brought me into the horror genre for me. Like brought me more into it. Like just gave me that extra push because like after that movie that we actually went to watch it in theaters.
No, we didn't.
Yes, we did.
It came out in 2010.
No, we did not.
We started dating in 2014.
Yeah, that's true.
We watched
So
it together plenty of times.
yeah,
Not in theater.
yeah. It's definitely a movie that you need to watch with the sound very loud. So if somebody's watching this right now, the louder the movie, the better it is. Because there's a lot of jump scares, and it's super funny to just watch with friends.
Mm-hmm. Cool. My number 5 is one you mentioned recently, Train to Busan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my favorite zombie film of the decade.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yep. So basically, like she said, a guy takes his daughter onto a train to exchange custody with the mom, and while they're on the train, a zombie outbreak happens, and so they have to fight to go from like, what do you call those things, compartment to compartments, a lot like barricading the doors, kind of move up the train, and they have several stops they make all along the way, and it's very gripping. I love the zombies in this film. They're really, really creepy, the way they move, and it's not like your typical shambling. It's very animalistic and
They're very
weird.
like, yeah, very realistic, and like just the way they look too. Like it's like fresh into the apocalypse, so it's just like they're just so, they just look so freshly into their
Yeah.
their like their zombie
They're
like
fresh zombies. They're
yeah
recently turned. They're all really quick and yeah.
yeah, and their eyes and like just their appearance and stuff, like ooh, it's
Yep.
really good.
So that's one we caught on Netflix a few years back,
Mhm.
and we recently watched Seoul Station, the animated prequel.
Yeah.
So that was pretty good. That was on Shudder, if you want to go check that out. And then they've announced a sequel called Peninsula. I don't know what the release date is for that, but that's going to be really cool. Looking forward to that one. So that's my number 5, Train to Busan.
My number 4 is directed by Ari Aster, and that is Hereditary. So that movie is insane, and it's super cool. It's about this family who kind of just have a normal family life and stuff, and one of their family members, I think it's the mom's mom, she passes away, and just a lot of things start getting unraveled, and um, just a lot of weird, again, like kind of cult feel things come to light in the movie, and her children too start going through these weird things in their life, and so anyways, the older son is kind of, yeah, he's been in a couple of movies, horror movies lately too as well. I'm blanking on his name, but he's been very versatile, let's just say, and he goes through a lot of parts through this movie that are pretty intense. One of the parts of the movie is when he goes to a party and he takes his sister, and his sister takes an allergic reaction to, I think it's peanuts, and I'm not going to go into the details further, but things just happen, and let's just say that the mom is like, she's a very interesting person because she dabbles in miniatures, so she makes like miniature life-size things, so she'll make like a miniature life-size house and like put people and just like that, and it's, yeah, it's kind of cool. It's a weird, like, it's very an eerie job to do, I guess. Like, it's not really scary, it's just like the way that they made it perceive in the movie. the movie's very like dark and gloomy, and there's a lot of like it's not very like colorful movie and stuff. There's a lot of like it's just very like the color schemes and stuff are very
Dark.
yeah.
Bleak.
Yeah. So that was my number 4, Hereditary.
So my number 4 came out in 2011. It was directed by a guy called Drew Goddard. Another horror comedy. It's called The Cabin in the Woods. That's it's a film where a group of colleagues or students, they all go on a weekend trip to a cabin in the woods, like the title suggests, and from there, man, you can just it's hard to say without ruining it. Things happen,
Yeah.
but it's
They explore things.
It's not what you think, though. It's not what you think.
It's a very underrated movie, let's just say.
Yeah, so they're attacked by zombies, I'll tell you that much. They're attacked by zombies, but there's a lot more to it than that. And if you haven't seen this one, you have to check it out because it's just so different. So different.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things that there's a lot of like small details and just things you need to pay attention to, because there's a section of the movie where they go down.
Stop it right there. No spoilers.
All right, so I've been stopped by the
group of friends go to a cabin. They're attacked by the undead, but other things happen and that we can't talk about because you have to watch it and you have to love it and you have to just do it. So The Cabin in the Woods, my number 4.
So I've been told by the spoil police, so I guess just check it out.
That's right.
My number 3 is directed by Damien Leone, and that is Terrifier. So
number 3?
Yeah, because that movie is so black and white to me, and it's just so just to the point, like just kind of, it could potentially be realistic and just creepy because people like that out there exist, and that's rationally for me, that's what gets me sometimes. It's that people like that
like him exist.
They probably do. It's just they're very well.
He's.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I know.
He's not a person.
Yeah, I know. He's yeah. And it's just, anyways. Besides the point of that, the movie is just so creepy, and it's this creepy clown called Art. And he just does just weird, creepy shit to people, and like it's just nasty. It's so good, but it's nasty, and it's just so eerie because he's such a creepy person, and he doesn't like. I know the villains in the movies, like the bad guys, the slashers, and all this stuff. They never say anything or talk or anything. Like they never, unless you're watching like Saw, and he's like, oh, this is what you have to do. But like for the most part, they usually don't talk a lot, let alone like at all. So this guy is just dressed like a creepy black and white clown, and he's got these like chompers on him that are always like nasty looking. And his appearance overall is just so like unsettling, and he does such a good job at his role. And it's definitely, I believe it's on Netflix. If you're in for just that kind of a cool kind of, not necessarily chill, because it's very
just a gore fest.
Yeah, there's a lot of nasty things, and he's got like psychological issues too. So like some things that he does is very, very gross.
Yeah, just a good background film. It's not a thinker. It's just you put him on. He's entertaining. There's a bunch of kills.
Very slashery.
It's kind of like 80s style in terms of like entertainment, but yeah, Terrifier is pretty fun. Not on my list, but it's a good pick. My number 3 is my favorite horror comedy of that year. Came out in 2010, directed by Eli Craig, I think his name is, and it's Tucker and Dale versus Evil. My go-to comedy horror film. Just absolutely love it. Two buddies. They're kind of, you call them rednecks, I guess. They go to their cabin in the woods, and camping nearby are a group of college kids who, I guess, I don't know how they develop this way of thinking that those two guys are creepy and they're evil, but a lot of crazy things happen afterwards. Some deaths, and none of them are the fault of the two, Tucker and Dale. But it's just a hilarious film. You like that one?
It was on my list very close for a long time, and then the more movies I was going through and seeing, the lower it was getting, and then I wanted to push it back, but then it was hard to. It's definitely a good, if you like horror comedies, it's definitely a must watch because it is hilarious.
Yep. Check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Tucker and Dale versus Evil. I want to get my hands on that Steelbook. It looks great. I'm stuck with the DVD. I can't find a Blu-ray anywhere. It's not on Amazon. But, yeah, Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
So I promise there's only 2 movies left, and this is the last one for this director, James Wan, again. And this is probably one of my all-time favorite horror movies, and this is Insidious 2. It's also definitely my most favorite one in the Insidious franchise, I guess.
Yeah.
Trilogy's 3, so franchise. It's just so friggin' sketchy, and like the characters in there are so creepy. Like, it's this family, and there's this like man that is dressed like a bride, and there is.
That's also a spoiler, is it?
Not really.
No.
No.
Well, if you've only watched the first one, that's a spoiler.
Yeah. So you definitely need to check the second one out because not only is this a super awesome spooky movie, but fun fact about us, we went to Halloween Horror Nights a couple of years ago, and Insidious 2 was actually 1 and 2 was
2015.
Yeah, in
and
2015.
They had both.
No, it wasn't 3. Wasn't
It
in
had
there
3.
yet.
Yeah.
Did they?
Yeah, it had 3 because they'd come out that year, I think.
Okay. But anyways, they had an Insidious house, and we got to at Universal Studios in Florida, and we had to walk through this house, and I thought I was gonna shit myself the entire time, because there's these characters that are not characters at all, but they're just like these zombie-like people, and it's just like the play of direction of cameras and just every I can't even explain anything without actually spoiling. So it's so friggin' good, and it's amazing, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time, and that is Insidious 2.
Just a continuation of the first one. That's also a good double feature where the first one
Yeah.
leads into the second film.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna have a couple movies one night, just put that first one and the second one in. It's perfect combination.
There's a lot of jump scares, and there is a lot of different characters in the movie that you're going to see from the first movie, and they're going to be in the second. So again, like you said, just watch the first, and then just put that second one in right after.
Yeah, I think we did it once where we watched 3 of them in a row.
Yeah, and it was weird because the
third one is a prequel.
Yeah, and then the fourth one is like
a sequel to the prequel.
Yeah, yeah, or a prequel to the prequel because
it's prequel to no, it comes out. I think it happens after the third one. Pretty sure because the third one at the end she forms her little paranormal group, and the fourth one she's with that group already.
And oh yeah, old house. Yeah. That's true. Yeah. The last key. Yeah. That's true.
Yep. So. Insidious Chapter 2, pretty good. I like the first one more, but it's close, I think. My number 2 is a film. This one solidified me as a collector and a horror fan. It's my other favorite film from James Wan, 2013, The Conjuring. This one I saw at the movie theaters, and like I said, I was more of a casual fan, but I followed it a little bit more. And I watched that one, and then now I started just living horror, basically, since that film. It's that film's fault.
Mm-hmm.
The Conjuring, 2013. So, yeah, family move into a new house. They don't know about its history. An old witch used to live there. She did some dastardly things. She was satanic in nature. She did some satanic things and rituals. She offs herself, and then her ghost inhabits the house. So the family there have no choice. They contact the Warrens, who are demonologists, and they come and investigate.
Ed and Lorraine.
Ed. I thought it was Dave for some reason. Ed and Lorraine. Yep. Yeah. So fantastic film. It doesn't do anything like freaking innovative or anything like that. It's just really solid ghost in the house film, paranormal film. It'll be my go-to ghost film for the next while anyway, until something better comes out.
Yeah.
But yeah, Conjuring is my number 2.
And my final horror movie of the decade is by Ari Aster, which is also the creator of Hereditary. She also created, Midsommar, which is a complete 180 of Hereditary. Like, the movie is all like lights, like sunny and bright colors. Like, the characters all wear like white, and everything's just so happy, and it's just such a mind fuck, because it's like you think that everything is going good, and then like the way that they talk to the characters in the movie, and just how things develop and stuff, and just how things just, like, I don't know, at one point one of the main girls has to do like this dance, and then all of a sudden she wins the dance, and then the dance just really involves like you're singing and you're dancing, and then you have to stop. It's just it's weird to explain, but it's a big mind.
There's a lot of customs that
like a big mind game, and
used to.
Well, yeah, and it's just kind of like, to them it's just like this tiny little like
festival they do every year.
Yeah, festival that they follow, and that essentially this group of friends go there and they learn about their customs and how they deal with certain things and stuff. So it's very interesting on how to see people deal with other people's
cultures.
Yeah, so Midsommar is definitely a movie that you need to check out. I would definitely check out Hereditary first, so you can kind of see his style of work first, and then after that I would go into Midsommar and then compare the both, because the same director directed these, and I'm no word of a lie, they're completely different movies, but they're completely insanely cool in their own way. So check them out, both.
Cool. My number 1 is Hereditary, so I like that one a little better.
Yeah.
But very art house film.
Oh yeah.
And it's a weird number 1 for me, because I like more of the fun gore monster film guy. So this is like, it's weird for me to like this film as much as I do, but it's one that's just a keeper, and one that's gonna stick around for a while. A modern classic, I think. But like she said, Midsommar and Hereditary, they're both amazing cinematography, but just the way that they're shot, and just the people. One's, you got that false sense of happiness, and then the other one's like just gloom and darkness throughout. So Hereditary, we talked about the story a little bit, just a family trying to deal with a loss and just meltdowns, and it's more of a family drama with horror elements to it that is more pronounced in the third act of the film, where just everything, that third act is just so powerful and so scary in my mind.
And a lot of things just go down, a lot go down, and it's very intense.
Yeah, maybe not watch Hereditary and Midsommar one after the other, because that would be all day event if you did that. They're both lengthy films.
Yeah, definitely watch it in the comfort of your own home, because we watched it in theater, which was fine, but then we also went camping and we watched it at a drive-in theater, and then we had to drive back to our campsite, and he was fine, he was completely fine, but I was like spooking out because it was that night was very windy and I just kept losing my mind.
Aw, poor Steph.
It was still good though. I enjoyed the effect that it gave me after because it was it
And
was
then we had to go sleep in the tent.
yeah, that was literally, I thought it was a hurricane that was going to take our tent away, so
Cool.
that's good.
Anyway, my number 1, Hereditary. Hope you like the lists. And stay tuned for the next one. I think the next one I'm working on, I'm hoping to have it finished, is my top 13 of the 1930s. So I'm doing a deep dive of the films of the 30s, and that'll be my next one, hopefully in a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So stay tuned for that. Have a great weekend, guys.
And be safe. And if you guys like knowing and hearing about our top movies and stuff, and you guys also have some, or you guys have your own lists and stuff like that, just put it in the comment below, or do your own video or do whatever you want.
Give us suggestions.
Yeah, you can give us suggestions of which one you liked the most in 2010 to 2019. So
Or future lists, ideas.
It's cool to see what other people like and their interests and stuff, or even if you just have like cool tidbits about the movies that we've talked about that you would like to share with us and stuff like that. Just let us know, and we'll definitely try to do a shout out for you guys next time.
Peace.